Nigerian ambassador to Morocco, Mansour Bamali, dies at 42. People should be allowed to buy AK-47 RPG like bandits for protection. Katsina Governor Diko Umaru Wada says, rules out negotiating with bandits. NNPCL confirms fire incident at Warri Refinery. Incident won't affect refinery rehabilitation, companies assure. Fuel queues. NNPC cautions against panic buying, says fuel reserves are sufficient for 30 days. Tinubu orders release of lecturers' 4-month salaries withheld over ASU strike. Approves 35,000 wage award to federal workers. FD heightens surveillance at Nigeria's entry points following the outbreak of bed bugs in France. Labour Party NAS member defy party chairman vow to collect XUVs for oversight duties. NLC accuses Minister of Labour Simon Lalong of violating its agreement with FG, foisting new leadership on NURTW. Tinubu revokes appointment of 24-year-old FEMA board chairman after public outcry. FG shuts third mainland bridge for 24 hours to repair bad spots. FG adopting principle of reciprocity in visa issuance to foreigners, working to establish more passport offices in Nigeria and abroad by February 2024. Ministry of Interior. Niger junta leaders claim ousted President Bazoum attempted to escape to Nigeria. Israel-Hamas war. Israel army orders evacuation of northern city after Lebanon clashes as gathered civilian death toll tops 4,137. Churches, hospitals, schools not spared of bombardments. Biden asks Congress for $100 billion to fund war efforts in Israel, Ukraine. Triumph fined $5,000 for violating gag order in New York filed trial. All these are all we'll be reviewing today's news review. I am your host, EMIOLA ABDULHAMID is the name. And with me is our in-house analyst, OLUBUNMI KAZEEM. Good morning, sir.
Good afternoon. It's afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
I know you're used to the afternoon
Yes.
news review. So it's a pleasure to be here, and good afternoon, Nigerians, and all our listeners, wherever you may be, all over the world. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good afternoon. Today's 25th. Today's 6th of Rabiul Thani 1445 AH, coincides 21st October 2023. It's a shining Saturday afternoon, and everywhere is cool.
No, the heat is returning, and I'm beginning to. Well, I don't know, probably for you, but a lot of families are already complaining of the heat returning. It used to be cold weather, but
Yes.
now the heat is back, and just hope that things would be very okay, because when it rains we complain, when the heat returns we also complain. So that's the nature of
human being. Supreme Court fixed his hearing date for Atiku Obi's appeals against Tinubu's presidential win. Is there still any? Well, let's leave everything to court, because I'm like, well, let's see what their view about that.
They are exercising their democratic rights, and after the judgment of the Court of Appeal that validated the election of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, there is still another level of appeal, and that's to the Supreme Court. And both parties, Peter Obi and Labour Party, as well as Atiku Abubakar and the PDP, have all appealed the judgment of the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal. And for that, to that effect, Atiku Abubakar even submitted new evidences. Some of those documents he got from the Chicago State University. So he tendered them in court. Now, court has fixed Monday 23rd, 2 days' time, to actually hear all appeals. At that level, really, they just you come and actually say your main points of appeal. Those are the main things. It's not a court of where you start, handling issues one after the other or checking evidences or something like that.
So it
It's a
doesn't take
case
time.
of it doesn't take time.
Like
So like
the
the lower
tribunal.
court, yes. So that one is for adjudication. Where you now start, looking at the cases one after the other, start tendering this, tendering that, and things like that. Usually, the Supreme Court does not allow for submission of fresh evidence except on rare occasions. So now it's the ball is in the court of the Supreme Court. If at all it would actually allow the submission or the tendering or the acceptance of the newer documents that the article wanted to file. So by and large, both of them would have their case in court, as well as Tinubu's lawyers will also respond. Some of the that have been actually written, presentations or ahead. Atiku filed his appeal. Tinubu's lawyers responded. Obi filed his appeal. Tinubu's lawyer responded to some of those things. So at the end of the day, it's for you to now argue out some of those things that you have actually made in your oral, written submissions. So now it's actually oral submissions that are left. So wait to see how that happens. By and large, the Supreme Court has the final say. And remember that while the appeal court, was given the leeway according to the Electoral Act, 180 days to hear the appeals, the Supreme Court only has 60 days to adjudicate, and a month is already gone. So most likely what would happen on Monday is that the appeals will be heard, then the Supreme Court will adjourn to fix a date for judgment.
Right, so we hope for the best. Resume or resign. Ondo PDP youth protest Governor Akeredolu's absence from state. Give him 72 hours ultimatum. Court fixes October 30th to hear Ayedatiwa Akeredolu suit. Is it even proper legally for a governor, or constitutionally for a governor of a state to not to be in the state where he's governing from another state, sending orders from there? Is that constitutionally right?
Well, like the nature of human beings, the Constitution is a product of our thinking. So it's not in all cases that the Constitution would actually be able to anticipate or imagine all scenarios. So, and that's why there is always room for amendments, constitutional review, constitutional amendment. But the reality is the Constitution is actually silent concerning whether legally a governor can actually govern his state from another location outside the jurisdiction of that state. I'm not sure. I'm not a lawyer, but as far as my knowledge has taken me, I'm not sure the Constitution has made provisions for that, or probably has really covered that area, whether or not. But by and large, see, the thing you look at it, morally speaking, does it make any sense that you say you're a governor of a state and you don't reside in the state? So since Akeredolu came back, we've really not seen him actually in public, in public, probably addressing issues, attending to files and things like that. Then when the complaint came, he said that there is no government house for him to actually stay in Ondo State, and I found that very, very ridiculous. Does it make any sense that you've been governor for before 6 years, and you're now telling us that there is no government house? Are you telling us that all your predecessors too never had a particular place to stay? The reality is, I'm not sure the governor is still 100% fit to run government. So I think he has been doing this by proxy. So those, in order not to actually allow people to actually see his true state, probably that's why that was actually bungled. So we're almost having a repeat of the Yaradua scenario. When he was already brought back to Nigeria, yes, and he was kept in the house, nobody could see him for almost for about 2-3 months before eventually died. May 2010. So he left Nigeria November 2009 for Saudi, and he was brought back February 20. He was brought back February 2010. Eventually he died May
May
2011.
2010.
So we're almost having a similar scenario here. I'm not saying I'm not wishing Akeredolu death, but then what happened is a case that ever since he came back, the commissioners and other political appointees have actually been going to meet him in his private residence in Oyo State, and that does not make any sense. It's just like you saying that a president, so far there is nothing as far as concerned say that the president can actually go to France and be actually governing Nigeria, from there. Does that make any sense? As much as we will not allow that, we should not also allow this. And unfortunately, I'm also more disappointed with the fact that Akeredolu is actually a senior advocate of Nigeria, a former president of Nigerian Bar Association. I want to call on men of the bar to actually rein in on Akeredolu and to either hand over to his deputy, just like the way he eventually did when he went for the medical treatment, and go ahead and take care of his health. So if he gets well before the end of the tenure, so he can actually come back and regain his. Now we're only told he came back and instantly he wrote to the state assembly to say that he is back in the country and he is back in the saddle. But then he remained in Oyo State. That really does not bode well for our democracy. I don't think that's the best way to go. So I would just say that, and unfortunately too, the deputy that actually held sway in his absence, he's still facing they've been in a long running battle as to whether or not he should be impeached or he will not be impeached and things like that. Although the APC National Working Committee has actually stepped in to try to speak to all of them, both parties, especially and with the third party now, the Ondo State House of Assembly. So but the court has already fixed, I think, the 30th of this month to actually hear Akeredolu's defense, because Aiyedatiwa went to the court to actually stay proceedings on probably any impeachment proceedings and things like that. So, and for the fact that he has really not done anything wrong, so why should the governor and the assembly be on his neck just to push him out and things like that? So that is left for the courts to adjudicate. But I don't think that it actually portray put Akeredolu in good light, because Akeredolu is someone that a lot of people respect, and I don't think you should lose that respect just because of politics. That's beyond politics. And for me, he has less than 2 years to go. So why not actually live on a good note?
Why not actually leave on a good note? Oh, let's move on to the next item here. Our Nigerian ambassador to Morocco, Mansour Bamali, dies at 42. Pray Almighty God.
He died at the age of 42. Mansour Nuhu Bamali is actually a brother to the current Emir of Zazzau in Kaduna State. So, and he was actually returning to Morocco. He was appointed ambassador to Morocco last year by former President Muhammadu Buhari, and at that particular time, before he was appointed ambassador, he was actually deputy director in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for Nigeria. So he was appointed ambassador. So this particular time was actually coming from his home. He actually went to Lagos, trying to connect to Morocco. I think he fell ill and checked into the hospital, but he did not make it out alive.
Oh, may Almighty God grant his family the fortitude to bear the loss.
Amen.
Oh, FG proposes 26 trillion naira 2024 budget benchmarks crude oil production at 1.7 million barrels per day, 700 naira to $1.
The FG during the week came out with and if you check on Monday, it was on Monday, that Monday, the president actually swore in the 3 new ministers.
Yes.
Jamila Birio Ibrahim, Olawande, or whatsoever the name of the other minister, the Minister of State for Youth. Then the other Minister of Environment are from Kaduna State. So he actually swore them in on Monday. And then they also now had the Federal Executive Council meeting. That's the second since this administration came on board. The last one they had was the inaugural session of the Federal Executive Council that was held in August, before they now held this one. So a lot of people have been complaining that the federal government is actually going against constitutional provisions by not holding Federal Executive Council meeting. But eventually, another one was held on that Monday,
Monday.
and they now came that henceforth the Federal Executive Council meeting will now be holding on Mondays as far as this administration is concerned. As former President Muhammadu Buhari, the Federal Executive Council meeting
On Wednesday.
holds on Wednesday. It was held on Wednesday. It's ditto Jonathan and some of the previous administration. So, but this time around they have actually shifted it to Monday, and they had it, and part of the outcome was the fact that it would a budget proposal for 2024 26 trillion naira. Although my look at it is very, very big, by the time you actually convert it probably in dollar terms, you're only talking about probably $26 billion. That's the size of our budget. So that's one. The number two is also the fact that although we've not seen the details, especially when it comes to the sectoral and allocations, that will come when eventually the president probably lays his first budget before the National Assembly. But then the assumptions are some of the things that actually gave a lot of people concern. First, he's talking about the fact that talking about $700 to $700 naira to $1, when ordinarily we know currently that the naira sells for 1,100 plus.
Confused.
That's been ridiculous. Ordinarily, so you're already providing a market for speculators to work on, and one way or the other, the idea that we actually want to narrow, the gap between the official rate and the black market rate is actually a pipe dream. Another thing you must look at is the fact that we are also benchmarking our crude oil sales at $1.7 million per barrel. Currently, the OPEC quota is 1.6 million barrels per day, and we've not even been able to meet up. So, now saying $1.7 million, let's see how far we'll be able to go with that. But those are, how would I say? Well, they are very, very positive, optimistic assumptions. But then, do we have the capacity to be able to meet up with that? Only time will tell.
Time will tell. But the way with the way the naira continue to fall in dollars, and is there any hope for Nigerian?
Well, hope. Well, this administration came up on the mantra of renewed hope.
We need hope.
But it has actually been renewed shaky for a lot of Nigerians. Renewed punishment. But then, what we would anticipate is, the government already told us that we should not expect it to be rosy. It will first probably get worse before it will get better. How far that would be, and how well Nigerians would actually be able to take that, and how well they'll be able to repose their trust in this administration to probably and their capacity to be able to turn things around remains to be seen. Because as far as we are concerned, and as far as from my own point where I'm sitting, I don't see that glimmer of hope that probably things will get better, because all that we have seen is actually probably a show of to a large extent probably insensitivity, especially on the part of the political elites, with what is going on with Nigerians. So we talk about the fact that the House of the National Assembly members have just bought 160 million naira worth of SUVs each, for each member of the National Assembly. Then again, you also look at the size of this particular government. You're talking about the fact that you're saying we have the resources are scarce, there is revenue shortage and things like that, and all that we keep seeing is that government is actually expanding the size of offices. We are expanding the size of government, which will be run at taxpayers' expense. You're talking about the fact that this is probably the largest cabinet in the history of Nigeria. 48 cabinet ministers. That's ridiculous. I can't fathom that. I have never in my life have I ever dreamt that at a particular time would have 48 cabinet ministers.